Good afternoon, everyone. Andy Jacob here with the .com Magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series. I am so excited for today's show. Look, everybody knows that I love to eat. I am a champion eater, but one thing I'm not very good at is I'm not very good at cooking. So I've been through the pandemic ordering all the food in and having it delivered, and it's been crazy. And we came across this very interesting virtual cooking class called Jen and Jamey's virtual cooking classes online. We had to reach out to the CEO because it's just so cool. So many people are taking the classes. So we reached out to Ms. Jen Earnest, and Jen agreed to come on the show today. And I'm so excited to invite Jen to the show. Ms. Jen Earnest is the CEO of Chef's Garden. She's the co-founder and co-CEO of Jen and Jamey's virtual cooking classes. Let me tell you, if you want to learn how to cook, this is the place to go. She makes it so fun. Her team is so amazing. She's so great. And Jen, I'm just so excited to have you on the Entrepreneur Spotlight Series today.
Oh my gosh, Andy, I'm so excited to be here with you. And hopefully by the end of this conversation, we will change your mind and you will realize that you are probably more capable in the kitchen than you realize.
I love it. And the testimonials are incredible. People are learning how to cook for the first time in their lives by taking your virtual cooking classes. It's absolutely remarkable. I want to be done with the delivery. I want to start cooking at my own home. And this is what it's all about. So as you know, Jennifer, what we like to do at the beginning is we like to pull the lens back to 30,000 feet. Tell us about Chef's Garden Catering and Events and how that became Jen and Jamey's virtual cooking classes.
Sure. So my mom founded Chef's Garden in 2001. I joined her in 2005. And by 2019, going into 2020, we had a super strong, one of the largest catering and event planning companies in Northeast Florida. We had just wrapped up what was one of our best years and going into what we thought was going to be our best year to date when the pandemic hit. And we watched millions of dollars in business just disappear. What felt like overnight. It was probably a few weeks time frame, all said and done, but we just watched it disappear. And we had a full-time team of about 30 people, and we knew we had to figure out something. We couldn't just kind of throw our hands up in the air. And so Jen and Jamey's was born out of that desire to keep our team going, to find a way to still connect with our clients and our community, and create events in a virtual world. And that's what we were able to do.
I love it so much. So you took something that was a challenge and you figured out a pivot on its head, if you will, and you started these virtual cooking classes, and they're so interesting. You have so many different types of classes. And obviously back when you did the pivot, the pandemic hit very heavy in your heart, your mind, and your soul, and your business. And so as an entrepreneur, a very successful entrepreneur with, you have millions of dollars of catering gigs on the books. And unfortunately, sort of with the pandemic, they went away. Tell us about this time for you as an entrepreneur. What was going through your mind? How did you figure out sort of to make this move to go into the virtual cooking classes? Bring us inside sort of the soul of what you were feeling at that time, Jen.
Yeah, well, I think like anybody in this industry, anybody in the world at that time was scared. There was so much unknown about what was going on. We didn't have a timetable for when things were coming back. And what we sort of decided to do is go back to what our core competencies are and figure out what we could do at that time. So we knew we were like, when these classes rolled out, it was at the very start of the pandemic when we were all under lockdown. We couldn't connect with people. We were, our business was able to keep operating. So we knew we had team members. So our thought was, let's get everybody together. Cooking in the kitchen gives us so much joy as a family. Let us see if we can connect with, we just really started with some friends and some close clients, and we were able to just hand deliver those ingredients to their doorsteps. And really, that was all it was about at the beginning, was just creating some connection in this time of uncertainty. And we soon realized that there was a great demand for it. And it kind of brought us back in touch with our love of cooking and seeing people get back in their kitchen. Kind of what you talked about earlier, Andy, is like so many people, we are so accustomed to eating out, to, which I love, to having it done for us, that we forget what our own ability is there. And we also forget what an awesome creative outlet it is. And so, from there, it just really grew, and people found us online and asked if we could ship kits out of the city. And that's where it really started to kind of take off for us, is when we were able to go national with this concept.
I love it, Jen. It makes all the sense in the world. I want to go back again, and we want to talk about, delivering the fresh ingredients to the door in the classes. We'll get into that in a minute, but I want to go back a little bit, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs that watch the show. They want to learn from other entrepreneurs. You did this amazing thing. So let's talk about that just for a minute. So you had some friends, you wanted to try, you delivered some fresh ingredients to their door, and then you took them online for cooking classes. So can you take yourself back to that first time that you had some people sort of on a call, on a video call, and what it went through your mind? Like, was that your aha moment? You said, wow, this could be really a nationwide, event for so many people to learn how to cook.
Okay, so let me take you back to the very beginning. So it was probably in the first 2 weeks of when all of this was happening, when there was just the conversation about the lockdown. I was totally freaking out, but I had also been doing a lot of like personal development work that was focused on the fact that we have to trust even when things are hard. And that's what we're always preparing for, is the tough times. So I was trying to kind of stay grounded in this idea that things were going to work out if I didn't fall into total panic mode. And as I was trying to distract myself, I was scrolling on Facebook, and a friend said, "Who's meeting me for a virtual happy hour?" And that's where the idea kind of clicked. I was like, we could do this, but we could really make it great. And I told my husband, I told my team, and nobody was really that excited by this idea. They were like, I think it's a little strange. Nobody's going to want to connect over a computer screen. And I said, okay, we're going to roll out meal delivery. We're going to do all the ideas you all have, but let's just try this. Let's just see what happens. We knew nothing about technology at the time, or virtual learning. So I reached out to about 8 friends who I really respected. And some of them were close friends, and some of them were like friends from afar. And I said, would you try this idea out and help us figure out how to do it? And so it was on St. Patrick's Day, and we delivered the ingredients to make a shepherd's pie. And we just all got on Zoom. It was really casual, and they helped me kind of navigate. We started with my MacBook Pro, which I'm on right now, and my telephone, as far as our 2 camera angles. And they said, here are the things that you need to do to kind of get it off the ground. And the following week we put a class in. And when I look at how far we've come from that moment, our technology's, progressed a lot. But I think that's the thing I would tell people is, like, sometimes you have to start somewhere, and you can overthink the process so much that you never get an idea off the ground. And sometimes you just have to go for it, even when the people you care about most are telling you that the idea seems crazy.
I know. Well, you've done such a remarkable job, and it's just incredible. And, you and I share a similar passion for multicultural cuisine. I mean, I love it. I love everything from Greek food to Asian food to Ethiopian food to, Mexican food. I mean, you name it. I love it. I love it so much. And you love this multicultural cuisine. You have amazing lessons with many types of multicultural cuisine. What's your love of this multicultural cuisine? Where did that come from?
Well, I just think food is such a great connector, and it allows us to visit places that, based on memory, and just like to kind of, when we taste the different flavors, it helps us visit those places. So that's one of the things that I love about it. I also just love how people can sort of see what they're able to do in their own kitchen, to kind of venture out and try new things. So that's one of our favorites. Like, as a family, we love trying, different restaurants, getting in the kitchen and cooking. And so part of that for us has just been also teaching people these different techniques that come from it. I think that we get really comfortable in certain areas of cooking what we know, of doing what we know. And so when we pull people in, whether it's cooking pastas or we made roti in one class, it just gets people, it takes them out of their comfort zone in a good way, and then when it's all said and done, they realize that they've actually only expanded their comfort zone. They actually didn't leave it.
I love it. They expanded their comfort zone. That's a great way to look at it. For the entrepreneurs watching, that's a little silver bullet right there. You might want to mark that down, a little silver bullet from Jen. Now, Jen, when we talk about today and we look at what you're doing at Jen and Jamey's virtual cooking classes, let's talk a little bit about the process. Like, how do I get involved? Where do I go? How do I sign up? When's the next class? I know there's going to be people excited to start learning how to cook with you. So what's the process to get involved?
Yeah, so we always have public classes up on our website, and we do a public class about every other week. And so you can go to jenandjamey.com. You click on our website, it'll list all of the upcoming classes. Right now we have classes through July, and we're about to list our classes through August on there. You simply click a button, you put in your address, you pay, you're registered, and then we will ship everything to you the day prior to class, and we'll send you a Zoom link for everything you want. Additionally, we do lots of private classes. Our team is actually prepping for one right now. We're doing a super cool class that we're partnering with a Wagyu beef company and a reveal of a new wine. And so we will create custom classes for lots of corporate events, and we ship everything out, and people use it as team buildings and ways to connect. And, you know, it's been interesting because as things have opened up, we wondered if things were going to slow down as far as the demand for these classes. And we're really glad that they haven't. What we think is that it's just changed. It's a new way of learning and connecting. And so we believe they're here to stay.
I love it so much, Jen. You know, so I have family all over the country. And you're talking, and I'm saying to myself, wouldn't that be fun to invite family members from all over the country into a private event? Everybody would get their ingredients delivered to their door. Everybody comes on your platform whenever you schedule. And then I've got my whole family there cooking together in different parts of the country. It would be so much fun. And I can see this working for corporate team building events as well. So let's talk about that. I would imagine there's a lot of corporations that would love to provide this to their teams.
Yeah, so I think corporate team building is probably our largest volume of private classes, is corporate team building for sure. It's a really great way to put people at ease, also for people to feel connected. They see people in their kitchen, so it's like you get to learn a little bit about people. Their families are able to join in with them as well. So it's a really popular corporate team building. And we have lots of families like yours that actually will choose to join some of our public classes. And so with our public classes, we will, because, you know, as we're kind of opening back up, our private classes have a certain minimum in order to do a private class, whereas our public classes, you know, you don't have to have that same threshold. So we'll have groups that will get together and we'll do what we call private party rooms. So you'll get together with your family at the start of the cooking class, and then at the end of the class, y'all will enjoy dinner together. And then during the class, you're mixing with the rest of the group, and people tend to love that.
I love it so much. It makes all the sense in the world what you're doing. It's just a great way to connect. It's a great way for people to learn how to cook in a fun, safe atmosphere. You deliver the box of ingredients to their door prior to the class. So it's so fun. You get the box and now you're ready to go, and you log on at the right time. And there you go. You get a professional class. And the classes that we reviewed are just so interesting, you know, even how to make the right kind of a board filled with beautiful food that you can do as an appetizer to, you know, main courses and full courses as well. So it's really, really a beautiful thing. And again, for me and so many people watching the show and so many people in the world, we love to eat, but we don't know how to cook. And you make it very, very fun.
We do. And I think that's one of the things. So you mentioned the ingredient delivery. You know, I think some of the success of our classes is that we send everything to people's doorsteps. So, you know, when you want to cook something that's a little adventurous, having everything available in your house can be quite a feat. You have to go a lot of places in order to find it. So we offer that convenience. The other thing that we really love about our classes is that we are teaching you how to cook in your own kitchen, because it's one thing to go to a great cooking studio that has all the bells and whistles and for somebody to show you how to do it, but to learn how to get comfortable in your own kitchen is another, you know, that's, I think you're more likely to recreate that dish when you've cooked it inside your own kitchen. And so that's one of the things that we love, is getting people to actually use we have so many clients that have beautiful kitchens that we use them more than they use them sometimes. So
I love it, Jen. You know, one time my wife and I decided, and again, I don't cook. My wife doesn't cook very much either. But we decided one day we're going to have some fun prior to the pandemic, and we're going to make cucumber soup. So we went to the store. And by the time we bought the ingredients to make a cucumber soup, because the ingredients were evolved, it was like a fancy cucumber soup from a famous restaurant. It cost us $55 just to buy the ingredients for a cucumber soup. But in this particular case, I get to get all the ingredients shipped to me. Everything is there in the box. It's really incredible. And I'm ready to go when I get on the Zoom call. Is that the way it works?
Everything down to the salt and pepper is delivered right to you. So there's the only thing that you have to provide is a good attitude and, the use of your own home oven. But other than that, we provide everything else that you need.
I love it. It's fantastic. Now, obviously, and thankfully, and thank goodness, the pandemic rules are lifting. Do you envision a change in the virtual cooking class business? I know you said it's accelerating at a very high pace, but do you expect any change now that the pandemic is lifting?
So, Andy, we are based in Florida. So our pandemic rules have been lifted for a while. And, the biggest transition for us has been figuring out how to keep all of these revenue streams going. So we've rolled out virtual cooking classes, we rolled out meal delivery, and now we've had our in-person events coming back kind of full throttle. So that's been has been the most challenging part of the transition, is just figuring out how to operate all of those different levels of business at the same time. Another thing that I'd say to any of the entrepreneurs listening is, for us, we're starting to get that rhythm. It was a really hard transition, and it actually felt harder to transition out of COVID than into COVID for us. So for anybody that needs to hear it, that sometimes you just got to keep pushing through. There is light at the end of the tunnel. I want them to hear that. But I do think that virtual cooking classes, our concept, it may slow down as things lift, but I think the fact that we're really focusing on the fact that we can connect, it's not just a matter of the pandemic. It's like you said, we can connect people from all over. And it's not even just about connecting people. It's about you and your wife getting in the kitchen and having a date night, and so that's something that you would do anywhere. And sometimes it's a really cool date night. If you go to somebody else's, like a cooking studio, you're experiencing that with a lot of other people. I see so many people having fun, and having these special moments in their own kitchen or with their kids who are young. And that's what I think is also nice about it, is that people aren't wondering are my kids going to be too loud? Is this going to be only couples and I'm going to be on my own? It really allows each person to kind of come to it in whatever environment that they want.
I love it. It's such a great date night. Whether you're married or you're starting to date someone or moving along in the relationship, what a great fun evening to have to join up and come on and get your box of ingredients delivered to your door, and then start with Jen and Jamey's virtual cooking classes at a prescribed time, and you do it together, and it's so much fun. And what I really love about it is you really hit on the key that everybody there's ready to go. Everybody's so much ready to have so much fun. It's a great positive environment. There's no negativity. There's no downers. Everybody's having a great time. Everybody's smiling. Everybody's having a wonderful, wonderful, meaningful, time with you and the people teaching. So it's phenomenal. And then for families, what could be better to have your family together and the ingredients come and everybody's helping out. Somebody's putting the salt and pepper on and somebody's doing the mixing and somebody puts it in the oven and they share the meal afterward. I mean, it really is a beautiful, beautiful thing, Jen, and I love what you're doing.
Thank you. We love it too. And, my husband and I, Jamey is my husband. I think we might have mentioned that before, but so it's been this cool opportunity for us to get back in and start cooking together for fun. This is our, what we do for our livelihood. So we have a large commissary kitchen. So I think that's one of the things that kind of sparked this in us is we started cooking at home. We're we lost touch with it. And it's so nice to see people reconnect with the joy of cooking. And I also have to tell you, in addition to cooking, there's usually a fun playlist and a little bit of dance moves and all kinds of other things just to break the ice so people feel connected and don't take themselves too seriously. People are worried, are they going to be able to perfect this dish? Some of them sound like they're a little bit daunting. We break it down in a way that it really isn't it's really simple and people realize what they are capable of doing. And I think my husband's best attribute, one of his best attributes is that when people have made mistakes, that's kind of the beauty of life and being in the kitchen is there's always a solution to kind of make it through and still end up with a great dish.
I love it. And it's the same with entrepreneurship as well. You know, Jen, you mentioned that Jamey is your co-CEO for the virtual cooking classes, for the Jen and Jamey's virtual cooking classes. Of course, he's the Jamey and the Jen and Jamey. When we think about tough questions, here's a tough question for you. What's your favorite cuisine and what is Jamey's favorite cuisine?
So Jamey loves French and Asian, which is, you know, an interesting mix, but that tends to be what he leans towards. You know, I love all types of cuisine. I really love a lot of our Italian classes. So one of the classes we have coming up, we're doing a class on July 30th. It's going to be my 39th birthday. And everybody from my team was like, are you sure you want to do a cooking class on your birthday? And I was like, what a better way to celebrate, like the fact that we've made it through this time, that we have this new awesome opportunity, that we get to connect with all kinds of like friends. We have so many regulars that are part of the classes. So we're making a gnocchi, and then we're making a French style chicken breast, which is, I love showing people that chicken can be more than just chicken. You know, it's thought of as being boring. So that is, we're doing it with like a pesto cream sauce. It's one of my favorite dishes. So anybody listening, I hope you'll come celebrate my birthday and cook with me.
I love it. Well, happy birthday in advance. It's going to be so much fun. And I love the fact that you have so much passion and so much love what you do. It comes through on the screen. It comes through on your classes. I love the fact that you've been able to build this business with your husband, because that's very, very powerful, very meaningful. And it really is a beautiful, beautiful entrepreneurial story, what you've been able to do with the virtual cooking classes. Let's talk a little bit about entrepreneurship, Jen, if you don't mind, because obviously, you know, you've been at the height of success with your catering business in Florida. Your virtual cooking classes are really the bomb. They're really doing great. So many people are enjoying them and loving them, and so many people are talking about them, and your testimonials and referrals are absolutely incredible. They're just so much fun. So when we think about younger entrepreneurs, you know, some of them, they have tough times, just like you and I have had in our careers. And sometimes they hit a roadblock, or sometimes they hit a stumbling block, or they hit a pothole in the road, and they don't quite know what to do. You know, they don't know how to handle that. Maybe they don't have a mentor. Maybe they don't know what to do. Maybe they freak out a little bit. Maybe they freeze in the frame for a second. What kind of advice can you give, Jen, for the younger entrepreneurs watching the show on how to get around those tough times?
Yeah, you know, I think one of my, like, when I look back on how I've made it, how we've made it where we are, I think so much of it is perseverance. You know, I mean, I think there is, you talked earlier, there are times where you're going to hit certain blocks. And I would say when those things happen, don't make an immediate shift, you know, like go back and say, you know, there's a balance in entrepreneurship about knowing when you need to persevere and knowing when you need to pivot, you know, like, and there is a mix of those things that are necessary, but it is not for the weak-spirited, for sure. Like, you have to have some determination and a little bit of grit. And I think that's really the key. And even more than that, I think it's important to realize that these tough times don't mean that you are not supposed to be doing what you're doing. These tough times are ultimately going to define you as a business owner, and they are going to make you stronger and more capable as you move forward. So I was listening to a podcast recently, and it was talking about how tough times, like, you can have post-traumatic stress that can come from those, but there's also, I'm trying to think of the way that she explained it, but essentially there's post-traumatic growth that can come from these things too. So you take those hard times. You and I wouldn't be where we are had we not had those tough times. So I hope that when people are in those moments and they're faced with it, that they don't feel like this is a sign to give up. This is just a sign to get stronger in those pieces and to figure out how to keep going. And if you are, I think in business, the other thing is that you should constantly be evaluating what you're doing and making sure that you're staying relevant in those pieces. So, you know, God forbid we never go through a pandemic again. But, you know, those chances to kind of, I mean, in going through the pandemic, like, that was what I would consider like the biggest roadblock ever, especially in this restaurant industry, is it was a chance to say, okay, how do we keep doing what we love to do? This isn't a sign that we should give up on catering. You know what I mean? Like, I never took it as that. It was just, how do we continue to do what we're doing given the current circumstances? And if you go back to what you love and what you're really good at, I think you can always find a way if you stay grounded in kind of trusting that things are going to work out.
I love it, Jen. You know, we call it mini Harvard MBA events every time an entrepreneur has a problem. You know, at Harvard Business School, they teach these problems and challenges and roadblocks to the students, and they learn it in an educational classroom environment. But for entrepreneurs, we learn it on the front lines. And when you learn it for real, it sticks. And that's what makes entrepreneurship so fun. You know, over your shoulder, there's a photo that caught my eye. And of course, there's the photo of all the cake, it looks like. But you have another photo that looks like almost like a family gathering or some type of meal being eaten by a group of people at a very long table. It looks like somewhat of an older photograph. I wonder if that you could share some meaning of that photograph behind you and what that's all about.
Yeah, so that picture is, we're in-house at the Cumberland Museum of Art and Gardens, which is the largest art museum in Northeast Florida. They do a series of awesome dinner parties, different themes for all of them. That was actually an Italian-themed dinner party that we did. We did long family tables. We encouraged people to sit by people that they didn't know, connect, try new foods. So that was a al fresco style dining experience. And, you know, it really is a lot of kind of what our business is based on, is using food and drink as a way to create connection and bring people around the table, whether that be in person, like in that picture, or if it is virtually, you know, and through screens. We are all about using food and drink as a way to connect people.
I love it. I love it. This is so great. You're going to have your birthday party by giving a class. You're in business with your husband, Jamey, at the Jen and Jamey virtual cooking classes. You've done an amazing pivot during the pandemic. You actually had it very early on when you were on Facebook and you saw somebody that wanted to get together for a virtual happy hour, and you had an aha moment at that time. You brought some friends and some associates together. You sent them some ingredients, and boom, here we go. You know, we're now in 2021, and Jen and Jamey's virtual cooking classes have taken off in a big way. This is so awesome. What a great entrepreneur story, Jen. You're really inspirational. I know you're very active on social. Maybe you could share some of your social links and your website for the viewers so they know how to get a hold of you and how to join, hopefully, for your big birthday celebration coming up.
Love that. So anybody listening, please stay friends after listening to this podcast. You can find us a couple different ways. Chef's Garden Events on Instagram or Chef's Garden Catering on Facebook, or both Instagram and Facebook, Jen and Jamey. And that is it's Jen and Jamey. Jen and Jamey. We would love for you to follow along with our story and hopefully cook with us soon.
Well, I'm so glad I could get you on this show, Jen. When we saw what you were doing with the virtual cooking classes, you know, the entire staff was like, they said, Jake, we've got to do this as a team. We want everybody to come. This looks so fun. So I'm sure you're going to be seeing the .com magazine team on one of your virtual cooking classes. We'll see if we can make it for your birthday celebration. And thank you so much for that invitation. It just looks like so much fun. For people that need a great date night idea, this is the way to do it. For families, this is phenomenal. For individuals like me that don't cook, that want to learn how to cook, and they make it so easy, this is a great way to learn because all the ingredients get brought to your door. It's a phenomenal idea, Jen. I'm so happy and so delighted that you could join us on the .com magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series today.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the time and just am so glad to have had this conversation.